Hey there, and welcome to the Big Apple School podcast. My name is Sam.
And my name is Barbara.
And today we're asking what's the crack about ballet. So, we're going to explain what ballet is. Barbara is going to help us with that. We're going to talk about her training because she has training in that, how it has affected her life. Was it very rigorous training? How often she goes to the ballet? Has she been to any theatres here or in other places, other countries? How she's been involved in any big performances or anything like that? Is it comparable to gymnastics or other dance? What about the music? All those sorts of things. So we're going to really get into the nitty-gritty about ballet, and I think you're going to learn today, and I'm going to learn too. But first of all, Barbara, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm from the United States. I was born in New Jersey, and I'm a California girl. I'm a Cali gal. Love the Pacific Ocean. And I was raised there. I went to school there, had a great education there. And then after I had my baby, I brought her out to Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. And I've been there for the last 29 years. And then now here, 10 days in Novosibirsk.
Okay, great. So here you are in Russia. And of course, it's famous for ballet.
It is.
It's very good quality here, I can say. Not as an expert with an expert eye, but I know that the standard is very high here. So can you explain what ballet is? Because, I mean, I can see it. I could probably explain it as far as I'm concerned, but I really want to know what it is for you, what it is, the nitty-gritty about it.
Well, ballet is pretty young, actually. It's developed from folk dancing, from local dances in the countryside. And then these local dances and dancers were brought into the courts, and they were to entertain the king and the queen, the czar. And so these are court dances. So we have certain positions, 1 through 5, that came from these court dances. And they had this beautiful posture. And you've seen women in corsets, and that the tutu comes from this wonderful uplift of the body and these long, beautiful skirts. And so we have a nice development with through ballroom dancing too, and then this wonderful training of really working the turnout. And the reason for working the turnout is because we came from the theater in the round, where actors and dancers were in the middle, and the amphitheater around, the audience around the people. And then we placed the dancers on a flat stage. And so you're rather limited. And so when you turn out your legs, you can facilitate this side-to-side motion. And then you could see this wonderful 3D in this one-dimensional theater.
So the term turnout, it's the spin? Or?
No, the turnout is the actual turning out of your hips. And that registers through your knees, through your lower legs, through your pointed feet. And everything's turned out so you can get your legs up higher too.
Right.
If you've ever seen a kung fu artist, his leg is high, but his body is forward. But in ballet, you lift up your body and your leg is like pressing against your body up like this. It's all because of turnout.
Wow.
It's scientific.
Yeah. I don't think I'll try it today.
No, not today.
Not for me. But okay, good. And what does ballet mean for you?
Well, it means the way I breathe, the way I view life. I see everything through the ballet eyes. I've been in ballet for decades. I won't tell you how many decades, but multiple decades.
2. Yeah.
More than 2. And so, like, if, for instance, if I go into a room, it could be any room. Could be this room, I envision a ballet bar and how the class would go. Okay. And I started doing that when I was a teenager. In French class, when I was supposed to be learning the French language, but I'd be envisioning the ballet bar and how things go. Or I could be in a laundromat or a grocery store, and it'll always be. That's how I see.
Yeah. And how is your French?
Not good at all.
But as good as mine?
Yeah, luckily the ballet terms are French, so I can speak ballet French.
Yeah. And interesting, I think some people might pronounce it ballet, like more like an English pronunciation.
Oh, really?
Well, maybe I'm mistaken, but I've heard the word fillet. It's a
Filet.
Filet, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes people will pronounce it fillet. Another time, filet.
In the U.S., we don't do that.
It's probably, well, truthfully, it's probably correct to say filet because it's a French word, isn't it? So, yeah. But I suspect there's been some adaptation. Manipulation. In Anglification, you could say, maybe. It's been taken and assumed to be English.
But who's to judge?
Yeah. As long as people understand.
Yes.
When did you start to train for the ballet?
So I was a little girl. I watched old movies, Shirley Temple. You know who Shirley Temple is, right? The tap dancing and the little skirts and the cutesy.
I know her name, honestly.
Please, I can't. Okay. You got to Google Shirley Temple.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be her because she was cute and she got a lot of attention. So I said, Mom, I want to take tap dancing lessons. And she said, well, if you're going to take dancing lessons, it has to be ballet. So whatever that was. But it turned out that when I was 7, my mom did take me to the studio, but I was way too shy. And I would not go in. So it took my best friend in 6th grade to take me with her to the ballet class.
So 6th grade, is that 12?
Yeah, actually I was 10 going on 11. It was the summer actually before. And so with my friend, I was not shy and I could start with my ballet.
You're a little bit older then too.
It was Royal Academy of Dance Method.
Yeah.
RAD. So in those days, the examiner would come from London and she would examine us at the end of the year.
Right.
And so each year we had these examinations.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And then
sounds scary.
It was scary. We had to have little white tunics with little satin slippers and our hair up and
So I was going to ask you, is it rigorous, the training?
The training is very rigorous, very much. If you want really good, high quality, high caliber training, you would seek out a Russian teacher. Yeah. And back in the day, well, in the 1990s, there were several that came to Atlanta, Georgia, where I was living. Yeah. And they were still in the Soviet mentality. And so they were very hard on me, which I wanted them, because if you want to be good, you're going to get a hard teacher that, expects the best. Yes. And so I actually retrained Russian style later in life, actually. Yeah.
Right. And is there a big difference in the style you learned from Russian style?
A huge difference. Right. Well, there's this, if you want to know a little history, maybe you already know this, but Agrippina Vaganova was taken and she was to develop the methodology that would develop the Soviet Union's first ballerina. Right. And so she was taken out of the Imperial Ballet and she put together the best of the tradition and then the best of the innovative things of the day. Right. And so this has this wonderful method of training. And as I said, it's scientific. Right. And it is to prevent injury. And you do it correctly, and you know how to do it correctly. So it's not flim-flam, willy-nilly. Right. There's a scientific method.
It's a practiced method.
Definitely.
Right. Okay. Interesting. I'm learning, and it's good. How often do you go to the ballet? Do you watch? I mean, you are a ballet dancer. You go, you perform, but do you actually go just to relax, just to watch it? Maybe critique it in your mind. Have you done that? Do you do that?
In Atlanta, Georgia, we have the Fox Theater, which is actually a very small theater. And I would wait for the Russians to come through. And usually they'd come in on Monday nights. And I would go and see the ballets there. But in all actuality, what I really love is the behind-the-scenes work. I love watching a really good class. And a really good rehearsal. I love what goes into it, the mechanics of it, and the sweat and all the mistakes and the flaws, and you're trying to do it and you have to repeat it. I love that.
Seeing people develop and so on. And do you teach?
I've taught for 30 years. Right. Yes.
So that's a big yes.
It's a long time. Yes.
Right. Wow. And wow. Okay. So I have a lot. I mean, it needs a lot of fitness, a lot of strength, and a lot of practice.
And now, so it's important for me personally to keep in shape because if you can't just go into a ballet class and then do stuff.
Yeah.
If you have not been doing your preparatory work, you're not going to be able to survive.
Yeah.
At this point, I could not walk into a ballet class without hurting myself.
Okay.
So I am doing my own exercises to get myself up to a higher level. That's always, okay, let me get back into shape. I have a certain par level that I'd like to get back to, but that would be on my own.
Yeah.
And then maybe I might be able to walk into one, but not now.
Okay. That's good. It's yeah, I mean, I think we all expect, I think people who don't really know about it expect, yes, there is a lot of rigorousness, and I think people have heard of how hard it is. You need to be very strong, a bit maybe like sport. I mean, it is a lot like a sport. It is sport, really, isn't it? It's that fitness, that level is very much needed. Have you been to any of the theaters here?
No, I've just been walking around outside, and then one day I'm going to go in there and watch.
Yeah, because here in Novosibirsk, it's Novat, the theater, the Novosibirsk Opera and Ballet Theater. And it's a very impressive building. Speaking from the architectural point of view, or not as an architect, but a civil engineer in education, it's a beautiful looking building, very impressive. And inside is good too, although I prefer the outside if I'm honest, but it is good inside as well. Great. Have you been to anywhere in Moscow on your way here?
No, I was actually 4 weeks in St. Petersburg a few years ago. And that was on my list to do, but by the time I got to that, it was the holidays and things were closing, and then I was afraid that I didn't have my dress code to come because it specifically said you had to wear a certain thing.
Okay.
And then other St. Bergians said, oh, you could have just worn anything.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, well,
so I was afraid.
I actually haven't been to. I've been to Moscow, but I haven't been to the theater there. I've been here, and I've wore jeans and a shirt, what I'm wearing now. So it's a semi-casual. But honestly, I haven't noticed. I didn't notice. I mean, there were people dressed formally, people less formally. So, but I didn't notice any strict code. So, don't know how that compares with Moscow, but. And how was St. Petersburg? Did you like the theater?
Oh, I just loved it there. That was the place. That was my destination. That was the place I had to go before anything happened. I had to go. Yeah.
And did you train there?
I actually took open ballet class.
Right.
Yeah, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I had to, of course, it was conducted in Russian, so вторник. He gave me a correction. He had danced with the Kirov Ballet, and he gave me a certain correction. Right. And I love that correction because there are different ways of doing something, and the way he corrected me, вторник, through second position, was the answer, the key.
Right.
And it was like when I took that home, it was like, okay, now I do it through вторник.
Right. So you developed as a result of that.
I got a really good correction that I will always remember for the rest of my life.
Was that a while ago?
It was 3.5 years ago. Yeah, okay. December will be 4 years.
Not so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And what time of the year was it? Cold?
It was December, and which wasn't too cold. But then when January hit, it was just biting my skin, and it was frightening. Now I know that was nothing compared to how it's going to be later on here. But I'm all ready for it. I'm gonna.
Well, I don't know. I haven't been there in the winter. But I've heard that St. Petersburg is quite, it's a very different climate from here. It's got a lot more moisture in the air and much more rain at certain times of the year. So I think that the cold there feels colder. I don't know how, I haven't been there in winter to compare it with Siberia, but yeah, it gets cold here in Siberia, that's for sure. Okay. And what about the clothes for ballet? Can you
that's interesting.
Describe them?
Yes. Well, let's talk about the 1960s, okay? Because that's when I started.
Okay.
Everything was nylon, and it had the high collars. Well, it's called jewel neckline, so it wasn't down here plunging necklines or backless.
Right.
And nylon with no contours for your waist. So it's kind of baggy and long sleeves. And then in 1980, I was in Las Vegas. I was dancing in a show in Las Vegas. And one of the fellow dancers started her own company. She decided she was going to make leotards made out of cotton.
Right.
And so I went into her shop, and she actually made these wonderful leotards that are form-fitting. She gave me one, high French leg, and these wonderful lower things. Yeah.
Lower cut.
Lower cut. So it was beautiful. Now, if you remember the movie Flashdance, 1980s something.
Not guilty.
Well,
I've watched many 80s films.
Well, she has an
it.
off-the-shoulder look, and then a lot of stores developed that, marketed off-the-shoulder things. But that's from dancers, because we would cut our leotards.
Right.
The neckline would be just too much up here, so we'd cut them, and we'd cut things, and we would cut them up here and cut them down here.
Right.
And so if you look at the old movie Flashdance, you'll see how real dancers did it.
Right. A little bit of homework for people listening.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, was it compared with the nylon, was the cotton warmer? I mean, 'cause for me...
Well, you would have knitted stockings that would fall down.
Right.
Or you would have, we knit our own because you couldn't buy it in a store.
Yeah.
So I knitted my own full-length body out of pink yarn.
Right.
And so that's how...
Many talents.
Yes. You had to know how to knit, and you had to know how to darn your point shoes and sew your shoes.
There you go. My mum loves knitting. And my wife too. Well, crochet and embroidery.
And men can do that too. It relieves stress.
I know we could. I know I could. Technically I could, but it's not my scene, I think. I actually paint little models and things, little soldiers and drawings, and I prefer another type of art, but I've absolutely nothing against it, and I enjoy seeing my wife doing some embroidery, but it's not for me. It's just, but well, the point I make is the cotton, well, for me, it's always about the heat. I always like to keep cool, and for some reason, when I exercise, and it's not a health thing, but regardless of how fit I am or I'm not, I sweat a lot. And so the cotton for me would be like, a red flag, you know. I would try to avoid it maybe, but is it warmer?
Well, in the olden days, when I was training in the 1970s, we were allowed to drink water during class.
Right.
And she kept it at 80 degrees. So we did sweat very much.
When you say 80 degrees, that's Fahrenheit?
Oh, yes, 80 degrees.
That's like, is it like
30
something?
Yeah,
right.
30 something.
Yeah. So that's hot.
And
that's
then
hot.
in New York City, way back when, I don't know what it is now, but they didn't have air conditioning. So it was humid and hot.
And you're dancing around, and you're not allowed to drink water.
In New York City, you could, because you're a little bit more independent. But where I was trained, I wasn't allowed to.
Wow.
Now, of course, things are...
And why not water?
It was old-fashioned thinking that it'd give you cramps. It's old-fashioned thinking.
Okay.
Now with this new health craze, people understand that you have to hydrate yourself.
Right. Yeah. Stay hydrated. It's a good phrase. Yeah. Okay. And what about clothes for men? So there are, I have so many questions, really. Well, what is a male ballerina called? Is he...
premier danseur would be the top dancer, or danseur.
Okay. Danseur.
And you have to say danseur.
And danseur.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Or you can say male dancer.
Male dancer, right.
That's what you would say.
But there's no ballerina or anything.
We wouldn't say that.
And it's not related to the word ballet at all. It's just
ballet
danseur.
Danseur.
Ballet danseur. Okay, and a ballerina for a lady
is a rank of a company. So she's top. And a prima ballerina is even higher. And a prima ballerina assoluta is the highest.
Right. So the normal term is ballet dancer.
Yes, like if you're...
or a danseur.
Just a dancer
for male and female?
in English,
Right. So for male and female, it's ballet dancer?
Yeah, ballet dancer.
And then you get to...
the ranks.
The different
ranks. Are
ranks.
you in the corps de ballet?
Right.
Are you in the demi-corps? Are you
a
soloist? Are you a ballerina yet?
Right.
Or maybe it's a company that they switch everything and everyone dances everything and it's not ranked. It just depends on
Okay, and each theater might have their own ranks and a kind of a competition for those?
Yeah, there's definitely competition. I mean, you have to work hard to keep that title.
Right.
And if you don't, you're out the door.
It's very competitive.
Well, we say there are 100 dancers waiting in the wings.
Right.
That's what we say. So,
and there's just one prima ballerina?
Prima ballerina usually.
Yeah.
But then, it's a big title. And I don't know if they really use it nowadays because now when we go, we don't always go for the dancer. We a lot of times go for the choreography.
Right.
So, it just depends on maybe it's more egalitarian now.
I also like to see the different characters.
Yeah.
I watched Sleeping Beauty here. And what I enjoyed most, and maybe I'm just not appreciative enough, I enjoyed to see a man dressed as a frog, a ballerina dancer, yes, but dressed as a frog, and I like the theatricality of it. And there was a wonderful guy who played an evil queen.
Usually they'll get the guys to play
he's got that size.
For Cinderella, they're going to get the guys to play the ugly stepsister.
But his mannerisms and the way he moved and how he was dressed, it was impressive to me. I enjoyed his behavior and everything was the theatricality of it.
Well, it is, and in the olden days, here in Russia, they use the Stanislavski method to teach these ballet dancers how to act. So you have these wonderful dramas that they really did learn how to act.
Right. So there's, because for me, I don't have a full appreciation of dancing as someone that may have training and experience in that sort of thing. For me, it's more about the theatricality of it all. But at the same time, I can appreciate that, yes, that is hard work. That form and that posture and the amount of stamina as well to be performing for that length of time. I can appreciate that. But the theatricality for me is an important part too. Okay. Great. So are there many guys doing ballet, I suppose, would be my question, because it tends to be considered more for women. If I'm not mistaken.
So let's talk about like the 1840s, 1860s. So the woman was to look like a sylph or a spirit, some kind of ethereal being.
Right.
And the man was there just for utilizing.
Yeah.
He would lift her up and make her, go up higher.
Right.
But then, nowadays, the boys always got the scholarships, like in the United States, because there'd be fewer boys.
Right.
So the boys would do everything free. And they would get to have, a full class full of girls, and they'd be the only boy. Yeah.
You could get jealous of a guy with all those privileges.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So there are fewer, but it's easier for them in a sense. Definitely
in a sense, it is
than for
in
the
that
women.
way.
Right.
Now, I don't know how it is in Russia because there are men's classes, boys' classes, and they take in guys. And there's the men's corps. And if you look at a real man's ballet like Spartacus, that's full of men. If you want
that sounds dangerous.
Yes, it is dangerous. If you want theatrics, watch Spartak.
Okay. So are those clothes comfortable?
I would think that they are comfortable. Yeah.
It wasn't a problem for you.
Yeah, and now there are, so we have a fat thing.
Yeah.
Dancers always have to be thin, and we have this complex about our bodies. So a lot of dancers would put layers on just to cover up their bodies.
Right.
But because I was really wanting to be critical of myself, I would always wear pink.
Right.
And I wouldn't layer on so that I can see every flaw so that I can so-called get rid of every flaw.
Okay.
So they're comfortable. They have to be stretching, and some people feel more comfortable being baggy, and I don't like that. I like something form-fitting.
Right. So did it ever hinder your dancing? It was never an
but
issue
costumes. Now, costumes are not comfortable
Right.
at
if
all.
you're dressed as a big frog.
Oh, yeah, that would be. But
that
even
guy that I like.
beautiful tutu, they are very tight. They have to be, and scratchy.
Right.
And even if you do like a little recital with children, children are always scratching themselves. Oh, this costume's too itchy, scratchy.
Right.
So costumes are not comfortable.
Better to train without it, I suppose, if you can. Okay. All right. And a few more questions we have. Could a ballerina transition easily into gymnastics or a ballet dancer, as I know correctly?
Okay, so we have this wonderful turnout that we're trained to do, and we'll die for it. And gymnastics is parallel.
Right.
So you're not going to be able to do gymnastics as gymnastics.
Yeah.
You'd have to really turn in. Yeah, you'd have to really
change your complete your mentality completely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, if I went in to do belly dancing, and belly dancing is parallel too, but I like to do some of the things I like to turn out, and they didn't like me to turn out. It's like, so what? This is my class. I'm going to turn out. So we're addicted to our turnout. We swathe ourselves in our turnout. Turnout is everything to us.
So you've got
we don't have to give it up.
I don't want to say bad habits, but a lot of habits that are not so easily broken.
Right.
It wouldn't translate well.
But that's a good word, translate. So ballet, you would translate into ballroom dancing. Ballroom dancers. Ballroom dancing would be great for a ballet dancer because they can really glide and have that upper body and have beautiful stance and rhythm.
So that goes well. And I guess it kind of came from ballroom dancing?
Yeah, it came from the folk dancing. And then, when I said ballroom dancing, I'll have to say this. I'll have to correct myself because Peter, what was his name? The one who is Peter the Great. Yeah, he kind of got rid of the theatrical ballet, and he loved the ballroom dancing, and so that was big during his time.
When you say ballroom dancing, I'm imagining the Hermitage, big area, and lots of people dressed up. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Okay. Do you listen? So, of course, ballet and classical music go hand in hand, whether we like it or not. And I think people who enjoy ballet also enjoy that music. But do you, as spending so much time listening to classical music during training or during performances, do you listen to it in your free time?
I don't listen to any music in my free time, actually, except for when I was in the States and I drove. I drive around and I would definitely blare out the country western music. But yeah, I don't listen to music, but I do say that on my deathbed, I would like class ballet music to be played. And class ballet music is different from symphonic or orchestration. This is simplified and very rhythmic so that you can do your exercises too. And as I said before,
and that's on a tape recorder or something.
Yeah.
Or I guess
on
CD now.
CDs, but iTunes, all mine will be on the iPad.
iPad.
Yeah, the phonograph record. Yeah, if you want.
I'm still old enough. I am old enough to remember the tape cassettes and then CDs, and I guess I should remember that CDs.
Did you know about the 8-track before the cassette track?
I've heard it. I've heard of it.
This big.
Is it the
8-track?
It's a small vinyl record, is it?
No, the 8-track was a big, like a cassette tape, but this big.
Right.
Yeah.
I've heard of it, but never used it. No.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We had a vinyl record player.
Yes, definitely.
In my house when I was a little boy, and I definitely used that a lot.
You remembered all the scratches.
And I used to put little farm animals onto maybe on the record, but my mum tried to discourage that.
Yes, you're a very naughty boy.
Try not to put it on the record. I was a naughty boy, but I tried to put it on the actual, turntable instead of the record, and but great fun putting farm animals on that.
Yes, a little menagerie.
So country and western music. Actually, myself, I don't listen to a lot of music either. I I tend to say a phrase like, books are my music.
Oh.
It's kind of, for me, I think it's the same effect as people are soothed by music. For me, I'm soothed by books or maybe a YouTube video or something too, to relax, you know. Okay. What's the most important or ambitious production you've been involved?
Well, I've had a lot of nutcrackers, of course, but I think my favorite variation, because when I was training with my beautiful ballerina from Moldova, I was with her for 10 years, and she coached me on about 25 variations, which I would perform. And one is Santanella, and it's an old ballet, but what's usually done is just the pas de deux now. It's kind of like a little love duet. And it had this, everyone would do it with the développé, where you put your toe to your knee and then kick your leg out.
Toe to your knee.
Yeah,
right.
Up like this. There's a certain step.
I got you, yeah.
But this former ballerina gave me with a ballet. So you have to kick it up first and then come to your knee, which makes it a lot more difficult.
Right.
So when I worked on that, I actually got a hernia.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And
She's so good.
Yeah.
So strict, you got a hernia,
And of course, I didn't tell her that I had a hernia. I did not want her to know that I got a hernia from the Santanella variation.
Work harder,
yes.
she might have said.
Right.
Okay.
So she might have rolled her eyes a little bit. But yeah, I had this hernia for a couple of years, and it dissipated. It's disappeared. I completely forgot about it. But when I think of Santanella, I will think of my hernia.
But you enjoy that performance? You enjoy training?
I loved it so much because I love the classical, I love the old ballets, I love the coquettishness of it. I love that this is what's so beautiful about this Vaganova style, where you have your upper body is the dance, and you have certain traditional ballet, the classical ballet are the ballets that tell a story, just like you said, you like the theatrics and the drama of it. And so with your upper body, you tell the story. There's certain épaulement, which is your shoulder, or the incline of your head, the gaze of your eyes, the arrangement of your fingers, this upper body is so beautiful. Yeah. And that's why I like that as opposed to contemporary stuff where you're just kicking your legs and twisting around.
Just about the dance more.
Yes, I love just like you like the theatrics of it.
Yeah. And even what you're doing now, it reminds me of the theater here, actually, because I think they have that style.
Yes.
Well, you can tell me more later.
Well, you have to learn that style, and what may sound strange is you have to learn what beauty is. You have to be taught what beauty is. This is what's beautiful. Do it this way.
Okay. And I get the impression, we're coming to a close, but I get the impression that actually it's not so much about the performance. I mean, for me as an audience member, I go to the theater once, maybe once or twice a year. And for me, it's all about what I see and hear. And of course, it has to be, right? But I get the impression, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that for you as a ballet dancer, it's about the training, it's about the preparation. It's not so much about the performance.
Yeah, and that's so personal because I don't think all dancers are like that. I think a lot of dancers really do want to see the performance. Right. But there's just something in me that I love the training, I love the details, and I will sit there and look at little things.
Getting everything right.
Everything, that's what I like.
Developing, and developing others as well. Okay. Would you recommend ballet as a career?
Oh, as a career, no, I wouldn't.
Yeah? And why? No. Why not?
I don't know.
Too much? Too intense?
I don't know. Because I am very traditional. And nowadays things have changed into the contemporary. And I really don't know what's going on today, really. Right. You could say that I'm lost in the past. You could say that I'm stuck in the past. But I have these wonderful images of what I love. And by all means, if someone wanted to do it, I would say, you better work hard. Well, actually, I did have a student come to me, and she was one of my students, and she said, oh, I want to be a ballerina. And I was like, no, I don't think you'll be. You'll dance very well at a university, study in a university. Because she had a very limited body, very limited. Okay. And of course, her mother did not want me to say that, but it was my own school, so I could say whatever I wanted to say. And so no, I don't. If you have an incredible body, and I'd say go for it.
You have to have the right stuff as well.
You'd have to have the right stuff. You know, you'd have to have
It's a very talented person.
Go to New York for a summer, see how you survive, and if you haven't had a nervous breakdown, then go for it.
Okay.
But if you've cried and you want to come home, then it's not for you.
Okay. And as a hobby, you're happy to recommend it as a hobby?
Well, I will say that I think, I had 2 ballet schools in my time of teaching, and one, I had a very successful adult program. And I had about 10 adults, and I offered adult class 4 times a week, and some came 4 times a week, and they loved it because they were office-bound during the week, and then they got to come out and de-stress. And then after class, I'd give them a rehearsal, and I would find a church that had a stage, and we'd use the stage, and I would make their costumes, and we'd all perform. Me too.
Yeah.
We would do it together.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a kind of a de-stressing thing, and
For
I guess
them, yeah.
for them it was the novelty of, well, here's what a ballet dancers might do.
Yes.
And I'm kind of playing the role of a ballet
Exactly.
dancer.
And I would pick certain dance ballets that I felt that they could do, like Le Pas de Quatre is this certain old ballet, and they love that. Or I would choreograph something, and they enjoyed it.
I get the impression, we're coming to a close, but I get the impression that it's a very strict lifestyle. It's very, very disciplined, and I think you even enjoy the discipline of it. Am I right to say that?
You know what? It's that suffering, and I have to have a little level of suffering. And if that's why I can take things, and that's, I mean, to this day, I skip meals. I can do without. It's just that kind of thing, and it is a sense of independence. It makes me feel strong and independent if I can do without food or something.
I can do that. I achieve that. Lots of goals.
Yeah, it gives me my strength.
Okay, great.
You're very insightful.
Well, maybe it's I don't want to sing my own praises. Maybe because it's part of my profession as a teacher. Maybe that's the reason. Without singing my praises too much. So, guys, that was the crack about ballet. We're coming to a close now. So we talked about what ballet is. We talked a lot from Barbara. We heard a lot from her about her experiences, training and training others, about the different countries she's been to, in her experiences in the States and in St. Petersburg, and a little bit from me of as a layman, as someone that doesn't know much or anything about ballet, my thoughts and my ideas, and really how hard it is to be a ballet dancer, and some of the clothes and music and all of that stuff. So, guys, that was the crack about ballet.